Welcome to our tutorial about data inspection functions. These functions test what kind of data we're dealing with, and they also test into what type of data any given data can be converted. The first function is the isDate function. This function returns a Boolean value of true or false and lets us determine whether or not we're dealing with a valid date. If I enter a string here, we'll have a false result. If I enter a date, we'll end up with a true result. Let's say January 31st, 2009. My return value is true, which means that the string that I've inputted can be converted to the date data type. As you see, variable A is declared as a string type of data. Okay, we'll comment that out and take a look at the next data inspection function, isNothing. This also returns a true or false value. It returns a true value when an expression doesn't have an object assigned to it. Here, the return value is false. Let's test a blank text box. We still get a false return value. Why is that? Well, the reason for this is because variable A was initialized with an empty string. If I comment out this part of the code, variable A won't be initialized. Let's test again. Now we've got a return value of true. Another way, if I enter A space equals sign space nothing, then tab, A equals nothing. The return value is true when I run my application. Nothing is the default value assigned to any data type. When we assign a value to variable A, from the text property of text box A, part of your computer's memory gets allocated or reserved for variable A. But here, if we assign variable A as nothing, we're effectively breaking the link between variable A and the allocated memory. Variable A no longer refers to anything. Okay, let's comment out this line with a single quotation and review our next data inspection function. The next function is isNumeric. It also returns a Boolean value of true or false. Let's run our application to check this one out. Let's enter a string. Click. The result is false. Now, if we enter a number and click, the return result will be true. You see that even though variable A is declared as a string variable, the isNumeric function returns a true value. That's because this function checks if the data we're working with can be converted into a number. Back to our script. Let's comment out this example and return to our last example, the Var Type Function. This function returns an integer value that represents a data type classification. Here's a list of what the integer values stand for. For example, if I get a return value of 8, I'm dealing with the string data type. Let's run my app and see how it works. We'll enter a string. My return value is 8, the string data type. Now let's enter a numeric value. We still end up with a result of 8. Let's change our data type to an integer. And run our application again. Now, if I enter a numeric value in the text box, my result is the number 3, which represents the integer data type. Let's do another example. A equals now. And let's run our application again. Oops, we get build errors. We need to declare the variable as a string. Tab. And let's run. What value do you think it'll return now? 8, of course, because we're dealing with the string type of data again. Now let's input an argument directly into the function. And let's run our application again. Now we have 7, which is the date data type. Again, we have the date data type. Let's make some more changes. Now we have an argument as a string. Lastly, let's enter a numeric value. When we run our application again, we're returned a value of 3, the numeric data type, and so on. And this concludes our tutorial about data inspection functions.